Hi everyone. We're going to take a look at calculating z-scores using Excel. So just keep in mind that when we are calculating for z-scores, we're typically using continuous type data. That means it's either interval or ratio data. So for our particular data set, we're looking at age, right? So this is a continuous variable. And to calculate the actual z-scores in Excel, we would just follow with the formula, as you can see over here. And to do that, click in the cell next to each individual score. So we'll start with the beginning and hit the equal sign. And we'll calculate the top portion of the fraction. So put a parentheses, the actual score, subtracted by the population mean. Now, where do we find the population mean? Well, if you know the actual population of everybody from a particular population, you can obtain the mean from that. But in our case, we're going to go ahead and say that this group of scores is the actual entire population. And so we'll just calculate the descriptive statistics in order to perform the formula. In order to do that, you can go to the Data tab up here and click Data Analysis. Now, if that button isn't showing up for you, you can make it appear by going to the File tab, go down to Options, and select Add-ins, Analysis Toolpak VBA, Go, and then make sure the Analysis Toolpak square is clicked on, and then click OK, and it should appear. If it doesn't yet appear under the Data tab, then you might need to click off Excel and turn it back on to sort of reboot it, and then it should be there. And so we'll go ahead and calculate our descriptive statistics for this data set. And first we want to tell it what data are we using. So where is the input range? So click the little box with the arrow in it. I'm going to select everything, including the title, which is age. And then we're going to tell it that we did select the label. It's in the first row. And we're going to tell it where we want to put its statistics. You can select for it a specific cell for it to go onto. You can have it go to a new worksheet, or you could even have it go to an entirely new workbook. We're going to put it in this worksheet, and we'll select that cell right there next to the data set. And then we want it to tell us just the summary statistics, and select OK. OK. So now you can see for all of this age group here, we have the mean, and we have several other descriptive statistics, and we're interested in the mean and the standard deviation right here. And I'm going to reduce the number of decimals by going to the Home tab and going to number, tell it that it's a number. It's easier to kind of look at it for me like that. And now we can calculate each of these scores. So now hit the equal sign, and we're going to start with the top portion of this fraction. So start with the parentheses, and we want that first score, and then minus the mean for this population, close parentheses, divide by the standard deviation. There we go. And now, since I want to calculate a z-score for all of these scores, I want to be able to drag this formula down, but keep the mean and standard deviation numbers the same. And so we want to freeze it on there by, first we click next to the column E there and put a $sign. And then next to the number row, put another $sign. And the same for the standard deviation here. Let's see. Put the $sign there, and right here, voila. Now hit enter, and you can see that it gave me a long score, or a long number for the z-score. I'm gonna do the same thing I did before, tell it that it's a number, maybe give me one more decimal place. There we go. And now that I have it frozen on the mean and standard deviation, if I go to the corner here and hover over the handle in the corner, I can now drag that down and it'll give me the z-score for every single person, right? So go ahead. And voila, there we go. So now each person has a z-score, and you can also determine what proportion of scores are are above and below each score. So what's the percentage of people that are over 43 in this group, and what's the percentage that are under this percentage of people are under 43 in this group? If you have a unit normal table, the unit normal table. There is a link to that table on my statistics web page, and you can find that URL in below the video. So once you open that, you can search for each individual z-score by going to this table and looking for the score that comes closest to, for in this case, 0.257. And we have 0.25. That should do it. And we can see the proportion in the body where this z-score lies, which would be 0.25 right above the zero, is about 60% are below this this age, and about 40% are above or in the tail, as we like to call it. And you can think of this bell curve as everybody in this data set would fit into this bell curve. And wherever your z-score lies, that's where you're at within this distribution of scores, or in this case ages. And then you can also get the proportion between your age or score and the mean. Okay, so also we want to see, you can also in Excel determine if your score, or in this case age, is significantly different from the rest of the scores from this population. And you can do that by clicking in the in one of the cells. I'm going to do it next to age 43 here, and select =z dot test. Okay, and the first portion here, you're going to tell it wants the array. So that means you would put in all the scores that it's looking at, and that would be all of the ages in this case. And then put a comma, and then next put the individual score that you want to test it next to. And then you could put in the population standard deviation. If you don't know it, you don't have to put that figure in. It'll put the data set's actual standard deviation in automatically for you. But if your population actually comes from a larger set of data, then you could enter that in yourself manually next by hitting comma and then entering the score. But we'll go ahead and just let it do it automatically for us. And we want to be able to get the p-value for all of these scores. So in order to do that, we want to freeze the array or the data set that it's looking at by doing the same thing we did last time. So we're going to put the $sign next to the column and next to the row for the first value in the array, and the same thing for the last value. So go ahead and put that in there. And that just sort of freezes it on there, right? And now you can see when we're looking at p-values, a significant difference if we assume that there's an alpha of 0.05 or less, would say that it's a significant difference between that value and the rest of the data. And in this case, it is less than 0.05. So this age, 43, is significantly different than the average age in this data set. And so let's go ahead and drop that down. And there we go. And now we have the p-value for the z-score for every age, every person's age, as well as the p-value. And any age that is 0.05 or less, you can assume that it is significantly different than the average of scores. So that's how you do these z-scores and p-values in Excel. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you next time.